Hi, I'm actor Ian Champion, and welcome to History of Horror Cinema, my personal podcast tour of the good, bad, and the ugly of horror movie history. If you like what you hear, please don't forget to hit subscribe. Captive Wild Woman, 1943. Whilst Universal spent 1943 spinning the wheels of its monster properties in the lackluster franchise sequels Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman and Son of Dracula, they were producing other standalone horror titles, even if not wholly original. Captive Wild Woman is an entertaining ape-to-human body-swap B-movie, enlivened by some risky-looking animal sequences and a silkily sinister mad scientist portrayed by John Carradine. Fred Mason, Milburn Stone, is an animal trainer bringing back 40 jungle cats from an expedition for his circus employer John Whipple, played by Lloyd Corrigan. His prize catch is a highly intelligent female gorilla named Sheila, actually that prolific man-in-a-monkey suit exponent Ray Corrigan, whom we recently saw in The Strange Case of Dr. RX. Fred's fiancée, Beth, Evelyn Ankers from The Ghost of Frankenstein, is more interested in telling him about her sister Dorothy's glandular problems, which she hopes will be cured by taking her to Crestview Sanatorium. The resident expert there is Carradine's eminent Dr. Sigmund Walters, whose thin, slanted moustache emphasizes his distinctly Asiatic eyes. He appears a charming and sympathetic specialist, who has every confidence he can aid poor Dorothy, Martha Vickers. In private, Walters enthuses to Nurse Strand, Fay Helm, about the value to him of this rare case of follicular cyst, which induces the secretion of unusual amounts of the sex hormones. He is experimenting on the potential benefits that glands offer in transforming organs to beyond normal size. No, not those organs. See me after class. Dorothy will make a handy draft vessel overflowing with the very fluid he needs. His assistant is appalled by his publicly concealed machinations. "I can see you're not a scientist at heart, Nurse Strand. One must be daring," he replies airily. All Walters requires is a subject beneficiary strong enough to survive the operation. He finds this by chance when visiting Whipple's circus, where a handler is fired for almost being throttled after carelessly giving Sheila water. Since the circus won't sell the gorilla to him, Walters bribes the ex-employee to steal Sheila for him. To compound his ethics-free approach to research, in lieu of payment, he pushes the man into the ape's homicidal arms, a marvelous moment of restrained evil by Carradine, witnessing the off-screen killing with a chilling, appreciative stillness. The next morning's newspaper announces the death with the usual oversimplified headline. However, there's an amusingly specific subheading: "Nails of beast pressed through back of neck, severing spinal cord," suggesting the reporter confused his job with giving a coroner's report. We are treated then to some hair-raising, tiger-taming sequences, showing Frank at work in the circus cage. Actually, for the most part, he is simply acting the close-ups, intercut with scenes of celebrated real-life animal trainer Clyde Beatty doing the whip, chair, and gun brandishing. These were taken from Universal's circus drama The Big Cage in 1933, and although modern audiences may well find the footage cruel, his impressive skill merits a prologue card praising his inimitable talent in staging the thrilling animal sequences. Back in the equally questionable world of laboratory cruelty to animals, Dr. Walters is having none of Helm's overly melodramatic acting. He turns her refusal to voluntarily cooperate into a fatality, gifting him a cerebral transplant for Sheila. This would be Helm's second time on the receiving end of unfortunate intimacy with a hairy horror, after her cameo as Jenny, murdered by Bela Lugosi's werewolf in The Wolfman. One new brain and a glandular oil change later, courtesy of Dorothy, and the gorilla is now transformed into a striking olive-skinned woman, rechristened by Walters as Paula Dupree. The actress embodying this unusual role was given the enigmatic name of Acquanetta, though in reality she was born the slightly less exotic Mildred Davenport in Wyoming. Universal marketed her as the Venezuelan Volcano, misleading an ancestry that was interesting enough, as she was of First Nation Arapaho lineage. Adding further complication was the rumor that she was African American, causing print media of that culture to follow her career. I mention this in passing only because her later prosthetic makeup looks uncomfortably like a racist caricature. Acquanetta would go on to several more B-movies, including this film's sequel, Jungle Woman, which we'll cover later. Unleashed here, Dupree the naked ape has not so much lost a pelt and her animal memory, but gained a paranormal talent that comes handily into play the next time Fred goes a few rounds in the ring with the jungle cats. She saves him from the volatile roaring lion by mesmerizing it with nothing more than her uncanny stare. Sensing a terrific and potentially life-saving partner for the act, Fred recruits her to stand sentinel outside the cage every time he performs. She has no trouble soothing the savage breast into rolling over like a passive pussycat. What she cannot control is the torrent of primitive jealousy within her at seeing Fred with his fiancée. This manifests externally as darkening skin mutating into a toothy, fright-wigged misfire by the normally admirable Jack Pierce that gives her a laughable resemblance to a satanic blaxploitation harpy. Dupree's only outlet is a primal hunting of Beth, breaking into her bedroom at night to kill her rival, yet only succeeding in slashing her neighbor to death, Fern Emmett, who similarly dies for her interference in Dead Men Walk, which we'll also cover. Suddenly, the medical megalomania of Walter's plans is being unraveled by his guinea pigs. He scolds Dupree for going rogue. Her raging hormones have erased the tissue work keeping her human, meaning he must drain more secretions from Dorothy. She guesses as much and tries to call her sister for help, causing Walters to cut them off mid-call. Can't they just be good little victims? When Beth shows up, he decides to make her a hands-on part of his work. Once again, Carradine dialing back the temptation for ripe histrionics into a more unsettling minimalist menace. He unwittingly gives Beth a get-out when he gloats at the fully restored Sheila rattling her cage. She senses what's coming. She'd love to get her hands on me. While Walters is distracted, Beth sets Sheila free to fulfill that wish. Meanwhile, Fred has opted to still perform his dangerous wildcat act in the circus without supernatural supervision. As a freak storm panics crowd and animals alike, he seems about to become the lion's supper again, when Sheila redeems herself by rescuing him, and is shot dead by a cop. There's gratitude. It only remains for the elegant tones of an uncredited Turhan Bey, whom we saw as Mehemet Bey in the Mummy's Tomb, to narrate a closing epilogue warning that fools like Walters will always pay a karmic price if they tampered with things that men should not touch. Thanks for listening. If you like what you hear, please don't forget to hit subscribe.